The Jackson family, I know we're celebrating a life. Was the life lost? Having lost a wife and a daughter and a son, it's called out of the blue. It's not easy, no matter how much you loved them, no matter how close you were. So I just like to express my deep sense of, how can I say it, sympathy and understanding. But the big thing is God left. He left you something that no one else could. He left you character, judgment, honesty. You can't kid yourselves about what's right and wrong. President Obama, President Mrs. Clinton, Vice President Harris. Jesse believed, the Bible tells us, that they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not grow faint. I hope the hell you all got that, but you're going to need help getting out of here. You know, I come from Scranton, Pennsylvania initially, where the fact that I was an Irish Catholic wasn't a very positive thing to be. And then moved down to Wilmington, Delaware, which was segregated by law, and remained that way for much of my life. And, you know, it's interesting that Jese Jackson, before we knew Jese Jackson, I was raised with the notion that that hope is all you really have. You can't give up hope. My dad used to say, when you get knocked down, Joey, just get up. Just get up. Well, I was a kid. I was a relatively good athlete, a pretty good student, but I stuttered to talk like that. Now, if I told you all earlier, when I was a kid, I had a cleft palate or a club foot, none of you would have laughed. But it's okay to laugh at stuttering. I'm not being critical of you, but think about it. It's the one place where people think you're stupid. Oh, really? I'm a hell of a lot smarter than most of you. But all kidding aside, it makes you feel really small. Makes you feel really small. And you know, when I moved from Wilmington to Claymont, Delaware, a working-class town, I was surprised. I remember being dropped off at the little Catholic school I went to, third grade. And I watched this bus go by every day. And it passed, I was on the call of Philadelphia Pike connecting Wilmington and Philadelphia. And it passed the turn to the big high school, Claymont High School. And the little Catholic school I went to, Holy Rosie, was right on the corner. I remember saying to my mom, "Mom, why does that happen?" She said, "Well, black kids aren't allowed to go to school, white kids in Delaware." And, you know, the more I thought about that, I thought to myself, how can that be, how can that work? How can that be right? And so, as strange as it sounds, I got involved in being concerned about it. I didn't know a damn thing about the civil rights movement. I was going into fourth grade. But you know what's right and you know what's wrong and you feel it. You know, the fact of the matter is, the man of God and the people throughout the decade of friendship and partnership, I knew Jesse. We were both young. I'm only 83. I'll tell you laughing at it. That's 40 times 2 plus. But all kidding aside, we came up through the same time. I knew Jesse, and history remembers him. I knew him as determined and tenacious. I knew him as underrated, undeterred, and unafraid. Not a joke. And more than most, Jesse was dedicated with every fiber in his being to redeeming the soul of America. The soul of America. You know, Jesse and I came up together as leaders in the Democratic Party. We had very different backgrounds, and in some cases even different views, but never on race. Sometimes we went at it toe-to-toe. We disagreed on some issues. But that's what I actually admired most about Jesse. His passion. He was passionate. His passion. The courage of his convictions. And you know, his courage inspired a hell of a lot of us, even though we were the same age. You know, with his captivating presence, his stirring words, he would be easy for history to mistake Jesse for a firebrand. I think they'd get it wrong. Jesse certainly created his fair share of good trouble. But through decades of service, Jesse's abiding message was one of unity. That's what he talked about. Through decades of service, Jesse's abiding message of unity moved people in the right direction. Above all, he always sought common ground. I remember telling Jesse that I knew a guy in South Africa that I was going to go see. His name is Nelson Mandela. And Jesse saying, how are you going to guys actually see him? By the way, you know, the continent of Africa is going to be the largest continent in the world in terms of population by the year 2050. The largest in the entire world. Watch, man. Watch. And the fact of the matter was that I remember there were a group of senators going down to, I got elected when I was 29. I wasn't old enough to be sworn in. For real. Some people I wasn't bright enough to be sworn in. But the point was, I had to wait 17 days before I could be eligible to be sworn in as a United States Senator. One of the benefits that had was I wasn't going to leave the Senate. I wasn't going to be sworn in because I got a phone call on December 18th before we would get sworn in January that my wife and daughter had just been killed and my 2 boys were going to die. So I decided what I was going to do. There was an accident. There was a Christmas shop, a tractor trailer hit them. So I decided I wasn't going to go to the Senate. And often pointed out to me, I said, you know, my kids can, the state of Delaware can always get another senator. We had a Democratic governor. And, but they can't, my kids can't get another father. But because of a couple of people, start with Teddy Kennedy and a guy named Fritz Hollins from South Carolina, where Jesse is from, and a few others after Hubert Humphrey and others, they put their arm around me and they said, look, just stay for 10 months, and then go. Because they knew I was going to be leaving, as Hillary can tell you, and all 3 of you can tell you, is that when you're a freshman, you don't get on the good committees. Committees everybody wants to get on are Appropriations, Finance, Judiciary, and Foreign Relations. So to keep me down there, they put me on 2 really important committees. The Judiciary Committee, which allowed me to appoint the first black justice to the Supreme Court. And the Foreign Relations Committee. The real benefit of that was, I've been around so damn long, I literally, and I'm not being critical of my colleagues, I know more heads of state personally than any other president in history of the United States of America. Which means I know a lot about other countries. I spend a lot of time. But here's the point. You know, the fact is that as I learned And by the way, I've forgotten more about what Putin does and these guys and Xi than most people know. I've met with Putin anyway. And remember, Barack was a great, great man to be vice president for. I really mean it, Barack. Thank you. Barack and I had a deal where we talk with each other every morning we'd be the first two people we talked to. And every night we'd be the last two people we talked to. And Barack could be asking me a question or something. I'd say, well, you know, it's all personal relations. You go, I know, Joe. Enough about all personal relations. But the fact of the matter is, that's why he was such a damn good president. And the whole point of what I'm trying to get at here is that, you know, Jesse did it really well. You got to know people. You got to understand what's on their mind. You got to kind of speak to them. You got to be able to talk to them. And above all, Jesse always sought common ground. Of course, he preached hope because, folks, despite all he endured growing up, despite the pain and disappointment he experienced, Jesse was an optimist at his core. No matter what you say, at his core, he was an optimist. I don't know if it was born out of religious belief. I don't know if it was born out of how it arrived, but it arrives in people in different ways. But it mattered a lot. It mattered a lot. He kept the faith with the American people. Every time I moved after I moved from Scranton, we'd go up there and spend the summers up there. Every time I leave my grandpa Ambrose Finnegan's home, he was an All-American football player at Santa Clara when Irish Catholics weren't very much in vogue and kept in the mines up there, as Hillary knows that state well. Every time I leave the house, he yelled, "Joey, keep the faith." And my grandmother would, "No, Joey, spread it." Well, folks, I had the opportunity to come up in politics at a time with people like Jesse around, and Jesse in particular, where he talked about hope. He talked about hope. He believed in his bones in the promise of America. We're all created equal in the image of God. And we hear this all the time. So I wonder how many people really believe it. He believed everybody deserved to be treated with equally and throughout their lives. And while we've never fully lived up to the promise, I don't think things would have been the same had Jesse not been around, because Jesse decided that his life was ensuring that we never fully walk away from it either. Because there's bad times like now. We're in a tough spot, folks. We got an administration that doesn't share any of the values that we have. And I don't think I'm exaggerating a little bit. So, he knew who we were at our best, and he simply refused to let us off the hook as a party, as a nation, or as individuals. And time and again, through triumph and turmoil, with relentless insistence on what is right and just, he helped lead us closer to fulfilling our nation's promise of restoring the nation's soul. He used his gifts to influence generations of Americans, and countless elected officials, including presidents, as you see here today. And though through his impassioned words on the campaign trail and through moments of quiet courage, Jesse changed history in ways numerous and profound. In fact, I want to thank the Jackson family again, because you don't do it without family. My dad used to have an expression, Miss Jackson. He said, family is the beginning, the middle, and the end. It's all family. And Rainbow Push Coalition, you know, the family, you're just incredible. But I promise you, as much as we're celebrating here, when you leave here, you're still going to go home and you're going to feel a little hole in your heart. He's gone. He's gone. But only I can tell you from experience of losing so many people in my family, the day will come when his memory brings a smile to your lips before it brings a tear to your eye. It will come. It will come. And my prayer for you is will be sooner than later. Look, you know, at the Legion of Americans, I know there are many who counted Jesse as a mentor, a friend, a hero. Let us be what Jesse called us to be. A margin of hope. Sometimes just a margin. You change people's lives. You change community lives. Lift up this country. And light the path to be a nation Jesse always believed we could be. You know, 3 years ago this week, Jesse and I came together once again on the Edmund Pettus Bridge. Walk across that bridge. When you stand there, you come from a state like Delaware, you understand what's on the other side when they're waiting there. Thugs on horses waiting to beat the living hell out of you. Well, let me tell you something. We reenacted that a number of times. But this time, Jesse's in a wheelchair. But he's not deterred. His faith renewed his strength. And with faith, he didn't grow weary and didn't let us grow weary. No, he really didn't. I know it sounds strange, but he didn't. I reflected on Jesse's strength and his spirit. Let me close with sharing a hymn that means a lot to the Biden family. Particularly meant a lot to my son, Bo. Bo is a wonderful guy. He should be standing here, not me. Bo was the Attorney General of the state of Delaware, a really decent guy, loved by everyone in the community. Volunteered to go to Iraq rather than go to Iraq when it was all National Guard. And he died there because he was exposed to those burn pits. Well, you know, this quote meant a lot. It's, and he will raise you up on eagle's wings and bear you on the breath of dawn. And let this light shine upon you like the sun until next time he sees you, he'll be holding it in the palm of his hand. My prayer for everyone here, and I'm cutting my speech very short because I'm afraid I'm being attacked. So, folks, I guess I could say it all in one paragraph. Don't give up. I started off every morning as a young man when I got back to Delaware. Every morning, because I got involved in my community, I quit my job with one of the biggest law firms in Delaware, became a public defender. And I spent a lot of time with the community. I was the only white guy who worked on the east side of Wilmington, Delaware. Matter of fact, they named the biggest swimming pool after me, the Biden swimming pool, man. But all kidding aside, I was one of only 13 lifeguards. I was the only white guy. Because I wanted to understand. I thought I knew the issues, but didn't understand the individuals, persons. I remember I had a little Chevette. I remember an all-state halfback I played with. And he said, "Joe, you have a jerry can? You know, a big 5-gallon. He said, "Can I borrow your car?" I said, "You got a car? Sure, you borrow. What do you need a jerry can for?" He said, "You dumb SOB. I'm going down to see my mother in North Carolina. I can't stop at a gas station. I can't stop at the gas station." The point I'm making is, the more we know one another, the more we understand what we're going through. There's enough decency and human nature in this country to reach out, to help. You know, Jesse kept hope alive for us in his lifetime. And we've got to continue to do it in our lifetime for our children. Because there's nothing beyond our capacity when we work together. Nothing, nothing, nothing. So stand up and finish this job.